there, Julia here. Today we are July currently inking. I actually was not planning on doing a currently inked video for this month just because timing weird. I'm going to be traveling for the St. Louis Pen Show and visiting my dad in Florida, all kind of like back to back. So I wasn't even sure if I was going to have a currently inked or just roll everything over from June. And then I decided that I'm just gonna do a little mini currently inked. I didn't think too hard about it, so it's probably gonna be one of the best months. You know how it goes. So I have a smaller group for this month because one, traveling, like I said, and then two, I suspect that I will pick up a pen or two at St. Louis, and then it'd be nice to just go ahead and ink it up and enjoy it for July. So this spread should look a little empty on purpose so that I can add as I go. But let's start off with the first pen and ink combo for July. It is the Leonardo Momento Magico in Sea Sand. And I got this in the Atlas Experience sale. And it's been a while since I've picked up one from that sale. But I always appreciate that they put it on. It's so much fun to just watch. And every time I watch, I just swear that I'm not going to bid on anything. But this one was just too beautiful to pass up. And I have the amethyst one as well. And always thought that the Sea Sand one was great too, and it has the gold trim, and I just had to. So I have this one inked up with Diamine Nutmeg, which I recently had in another pen in my 30 inks 30 days, and I loved it so much, but I just thought that these visually were just such a good match that I had to do it. And this does have a medium nib. I love that it has an ink window. It's a piston filler, gorgeous. Seems like such a good pair as well as far as flow, and yeah, look at that, gorgeous. Okay, next up I have inked up this Narwhal Nautilus. This is the Cotton Candy colorway. It is an Atlas exclusive, and I'm not sure if it's still available there. There may be a few left. I haven't checked recently, but love this like tealy turquoise and the little hints of pink in here. It's just a really pretty swirly Nautilus. I do love the Nautilus model. I haven't had the best of luck with other Narwhal pens just because I have feelings about the nibs, and I was thinking maybe it was the coated nibs that I enjoyed, but I found that that isn't the case either. And this one doesn't have a coated nib unless whatever is going on here, this like rose gold color, is coated. But I really like this nib. I don't know, it's just very hit or miss for me, and luckily this is a hit. I have this inked up with the only full bottle of the bunch today actually. This is Robert Oster Tranquility. A gorgeous, you know, of course it matches, so it is a gorgeous teal turquoisey color. Gorgeous. It is flowing really well across the page. You don't get as much variation in here, so not much shading, but if you like your ink no nonsense, hey, this is valid. This one has a fine nib. Getting a little hairy to write on this side of the page now that this notebook is getting quite full. The next one is also an Atlas exclusive. This is from Hines Pen and this is called Purple Rain. And I got this in Chicago last year at Atlas in person when I was there for the Chicago Planner Conference. And I saw this online and immediately had to go and see it in person. Love it. Look at that purple coated nib on there. Gorgeous. So I have a fine nib installed in here and I have it inked up with Ferris Wheel Press Gossiping Grapevine, which is a nice deep purple. It kind of matches the clip here, the hardware, and it has some shimmer, some like rose gold shimmer. And this is my first time using these little smaller like 10 ml bottles. I think the perfect size with the way that I love to try different inks. 10 ml, I'm not as precious, but I feel like I can get through it. Gorgeous. We have a little more variation here. You can see the shimmer, lovely grape purple. It's quite wet, flows really well out of this nib. Yeah, I think it's spot on for the hardware, which I really like. But this also would match really well with more dusty purples, grays. Love it. Okay, the next one is a carryover from last month, my only carryover. This is the Zodiac Pens Cancer model. The resin is Mermaid Jade. I got this pen specifically for my birthday and I'm going to the St. Louis Pen Show mostly because it's a birthday trip activity. And of course we had to leave the birthday pen inked up. Plus I didn't get a lot of time with this pen early June because if you remember last month I mentioned that the housing stuck out of it quite a bit and it really didn't bother me, but Bart reached out from Zodiac Pens and wanted to give it a look, and so he added some slits into the flexible nib factory housing for a Sailor nib. I don't know if you noticed that this has a Sailor Pro Gear 21K nib in here. Is it gonna, there we go. So he worked some magic and sent it back, and so I'm just gonna keep it inked up. It's such a beautiful pen, such a beautiful writer, and I love it. So I have this inked up with Kitty Ink Pot Biggie Cat bottle with just a dot of the mystery ink that they sent along as well, which is just like a dark green as well, but adding that drop just made it a tiny bit more legible, and so I really like that subtle mix that I did, but I am just going to swatch Biggie Cat Bottle. Yeah, and so I mentioned St. Louis, the St. Louis Pen Show, and then we are visiting my dad in Florida for his milestone 60th birthday. But then shortly after that, and I mean shortly, we are going to Portugal for a week because my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law recently moved there earlier this year. And so this will be our second time in the country, but our first time visiting them and helping them out as they continue to get adjusted. And then on the way back, we're visiting a dear friend in Kansas for her milestone birthday. There's been a lot of milestone birthdays in our circle this year. So these pens will be coming along on lots of journeys this month. And I did not mention, this is a Sailor broad nib. So it seems to write closer to a Western medium. Okay, it looks a little more broad here. If medium broad was a nib size, that's what the Sailor nib writes like. Such an interesting ink though, and a really nice match to this pen, I think. All right, I'm also bringing along my wedding pen from Papa J Studio. I've swapped out the cap to the demonstrator cap, so you can see the nib straight through. I love it. This pen actually has pieces of my wedding bouquet in here, and I do have a whole video on the process of this pen if you're curious. But I decided to ink it up with something that I like, a different color category than I typically go with. I usually go for these kind of like teal colors in here, but this time around I went for this more dusty pink color that you see in here, like there. And I decided to ink it up with Diamine Masquerade. This one is from the 2023 Inkvent calendar. And see, it has that mauve-y, pinky, like desaturated pink quality with gold shimmer. The nib on this is an imperial nib done by Kirk Spear. So on the writing side, we get a cursive, smooth, italic quality. And then when you flip it over, it's like a broad, not quite a monoline, but it is very close to a monoline. And whenever I'm asked what my favorite nib grind is, at least right now, I will say the imperial grind 9 times out of 10. Flip it over here and we can see the difference. Yeah, I think really fun change up on what this is typically inked with. I've inked it up with Amarillo Stationery teal waistband, and before that it was pretty steadily inked up with Sailor Shikiori. I don't think Kumakusa is the right word, but I'll put it up on the screen what the actual ink is called. But yeah, I think this is a lovely refresh and a fun match. Next up, I've decided to ink up my Twisby Mini. This is the rose gold and white version of this pen. I thought it would be smart to have at least one pocket pen. This one could easily just live in my pen loop, and it does have an extra fine nib, so it should play a little nicer with shitty paper. But I'm mostly bringing this to try out as sort of the workhorse pen of the bunch. And I have it inked up with, from the Colorverse Colorvent calendar, Dante's Cosmology. This is a dark navy, almost blurple color, which I thought was not offensive, so that if I am using this as sort of a workhorse pen, that I wanted the ink to be somewhat neutral as well, but still fun because I don't love a boring ink. So with the Mini, there are threads back here, and you just put it on and you thread on the cap to post. And I remember getting this pen specifically as a purse pen. I've since, like, I get pens all the time and I'm like, this is gonna be my purse pen. And I don't have a single fountain pen purse pen. It's just this thing that I say to myself. Yeah, the flow feels really nice with this combination. I think this will serve the purpose that I want it to, for sure. And I think I will, famous last words here, I will leave this inked up and maybe not, I don't know, am I gonna put it in my purse? I don't know, but maybe I will. It's a Twisby, they last forever as far as seal. And so maybe I will put this in my little purse pen holder and try it out that way. So yeah, there we have it. These are the 6 pens and inks that I am starting July off with. This isn't the most summery palette either, but I like a dark ink. I like a moody ink, and so this is my version of summer, I guess. But I'm excited to see what else I end up adding here, at least 2. I feel like the Twisby Eco, the Serpentine one, I have to get my hands on that one. I really love the way that that pen looks. And there's also a Tasha pen that I have my eye on, the Covenant. I saw Lori Tata from Time with Tata grab one at Chicago Pen Show, and I just thought that pen was so cool and not as crazy in price as some of the other Tasha pens, so I'll have my eye out for that in St. Louis as well. But yeah, other than that, let me know what you think here. What do you have going on for July? What do you have inked up? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you always for watching, especially to this point. I'll leave another video for you to check out right here, and I will catch you all in the next one.